and only a transactional level will be exposed publicly. Do you have any insights?
So it's like what we already have, but with the blockchain, right? I mean,
not really yet.
Yeah,
Some of the blockchains are hybrid, but most of them are not public. And actually, in the background, they are dealing as a private. There are still not a complete bridging between these technologies on that level.
To be honest, I feel it's not fish, it's not meat, and for the regulator it would be the same. Let's say, do a KYC or not? Have you fulfilled that or not? Yeah? And another issue what I wanted to mention, I don't want to interrupt here, but again with the MiCA, it's not only the KYC stuff, but how you put in the money. And regulators, operators need to really take care how they do the process of onboarding clients, but also the process of getting the money in, the accounts, yeah, and what's the balance, etc. So if you use the digital asset token, it's a broad definition of token, but again, also the MiCA uses a very broad definition, what falls under the MiCA and what not. And so operators shall be really careful if they fall within the MiCA, and if they really need a authorization, licensing, whatever, under the MiCA, even if they just onboard their people, the clients, or the digital assets of the clients. Yeah.
For sure, we have to follow the MiCA, especially in the European Union. And if we approach a cross-border payment, which is still the traditional way of finance and economics, a problem somehow, can the intersection of these technologies help to overcome this problem of cross-border payment? Technically and legally, is that possible? What do you think?
I'm not a blockchain expert, so I'll leave the word to you.
I mean, from the legal point, I believe I can leave it in your hands. From technical, well, I mean, payments is always a headache, and maybe that could be implemented and that might work. Honestly, from my experience, the way we decided to work, we just decided to leave all the payments on the operator sides, because it's extremely hard to go for that type of solutions, and because you never know what kind of regulations you are going to expect, and depends in which jurisdiction you are operating. And there is another question on top.
Global accessibility, actually, from all sides.
There's a very important question on top of that, like, do really players need that now? I mean, because it's a chain. The whole this iGaming process is a chain. There are players, operators, providers. We as the providers, we can develop wherever we want. Operators will buy it only if players will push it, right? Like in Asia, they have crazy solutions and they operate with crypto and fiat. And it's mostly because their audience, their players, they're pushing operators to develop more. They're hungry for the experience, and this is extremely important because in Europe we are more chill, I would say. I mean, and that's true.
That's true actually, yes.
Legally speaking, adding to this, we have also seen under the MiCA that traditional banks have a kind of speedy process and to adapt crypto assets, to say it in a very general way. And we've also seen that the regulators issuing banking licenses, issuing transaction or financial transaction licenses, that they are very open-minded right now. Just think of the Austrian FMA, Financial Market Authority, or the Baltics. I don't know of Malta or Cyprus, but they have other issues with the banks. But the Baltics, the Baltic states are very open-minded, and they have financial institutions. They have extremely open-minded authorization process. So that's helping. First, and second, what I wanted to mention with the traditional banks, they are learning what's the benefit now out of crypto. Yeah? As I said, I cannot really explain it now to the operators, but I think within the next 2-3 years, traditional banks will see it as a new way of new clients adapting to a new situation and having new clients. And as soon as the traditional banks are on board with the new MiCA, I think then we will not have any more issues also explaining that to a gambling regulatory authority.
I'm pretty sure that the MiCA will help in the next few years on patching, just patching and national strategies all over the Europe for the blockchain technology and digitization overall. Because we already know that in MiCA is not just about the crypto, it's about digital assets and organization processes that need to be fulfilled on a regulatory way. And we have to agree with some of these topics inside of the MiCA.
It's funny, another thing what I just mentioned with the Baltic states and I'm coming from Australia, we have, funny enough, we have little countries who are much more pushy than, for example, good old Germany or France. They are not so pushy in this crypto field because although we have an harmonization with the MiCA, we still have a race.
Process of adoption is a little bit longer.
No, we still have a race, a competition within the jurisdictions.
Yeah,
especially Baltics and Austria or Malta, they're trying to grab as many.
They're much more flexible on that way.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's right.
And they roll you a red carpet and say, come operator or come licensed authority, and we speak together. And they have in mind not only the consumers, but especially the operators who need to get the license and the traditional banks. In Austria, we have seen a cooperation with Bitbundler and the bank, and we've seen many other cooperations, and that's peu à peu, it's moving forward. And I think as soon as we see the adoption by traditional banks, again, continuing in this, I think it's easy then to explain also to the regulatory authority.
That's right, I agree with that. We touched already a part of the Web3 technology overall. The blockchain is a part of the Web3 that appears in the last decade, and especially from exploded Web3 from in the last 2 years. 2021 actually exploded, and decentralized apps and all of these things. Talking about user ownerships, interoperability, transparency, fairness, anonymity and privacy, as we mentioned, global accessibility, but we also have an extended reality, virtual reality, augmented reality inside. Is it so immersive in a gaming, like an experience or something that can enhance the live casinos and the traditional casinos that we have? From your personal perspective, Manuel, what do you think with your technology that you already touch inside or deeper from technology view and outer world, how that looks like?
Right, so in my opinion, everything we have now on a flat screen on the laptop will be 3D in the future. So I call it the 3D internet basically. So if you play now live casino on a flat screen, you see a roulette as a picture basically. You would be able to place that roulette table virtually in your environment. So a 3D model. Right now, status quo, technically you can place that roulette table with your smartphone virtually on a table. That's AR, right? But I guess in between 3 to 5 years, when Apple Vision Pro is really mass adopted, it's gonna be a big change, big game changer for all online businesses, whether it's e-commerce, gambling. Everyone needs to rethink the way how they are presented on the internet. And everyone will need 3D models. So this is the basic of everything, and I think it's very important as a business to now think about 3D models and how to get to those 3D models. And VR-wise, everybody asks me, who do you think will win, AR, VR? In fact, both technologies will melt, kind of. We already see it with the first version of Apple Vision Pro, which by the way I think is like the iPhone 1 nowadays. Well, back then the iPhone 1, nobody cared about it, it was just shitty, so to say. And the Apple Vision Pro will be similar, but we will see after a few generations that the mass adoption is really going to happen, and then is the real big breakthrough for XR immersive technologies. From your side, maybe VR? What do you think? I mean, you're
well, the immersive experience is the key factor of what we are doing. And I have nothing against AR, but for the gaming specifically, I don't see it as a solution at all. And I will explain you why. I mean, and it will be easy to explain honestly, even if we speak about the VR. When we go and play casinos, first of all, now since we have Web3 and everything, we're not speaking about just the game, right? We're not speaking about to play blackjack and that's it. We're speaking about the huge entertainment around an immersive experience. How many hours player will spend in this virtual world? Then, now, next question. Because the answer for the first one, a lot, for sure. Next question. How long player can spend in this virtual environment in VR? Vision Pro works 2 hours, by the way. With VR, your neck will start suffering, you will start suffering from the pain, like after 2 hours maybe. And especially if we speak about some dynamic entertainment, like we play poker, any game where you really interact, right? So I believe it can work with the VR, but it should still complement traditional user interface. At the same time, all these immersive experiences should be implemented into the operator side. Like it can be done for the live dealers, for the virtual environment in general, how people interact. And again, even for the live dealer, we have already a solution in the market with the VR. But VR for a casino is just the way to make a nice entertainment and lose a bit of money. Because imagine you have dealer change procedure every 20 minutes, and every 20 minutes you need to pass the VR headset. So blackjack round is around 40 seconds, 1 minute, let's say. To change, to pass the VR headset, you need to spend at least a minute. So how much money operator will lose while they're passing the VR headsets? So I'm not going to dive into what we are developing because it will become the presentation of our product, but there is another tech, which is basically artificial intelligence, and you can play around with that to bring different experiences to the end user with that. And this is, for me personally, much more promising than AR experience, but nothing against.
All good.
The both you push me towards to another point which I didn't mention to talk about. It's about live dealer experience by using VR, and actually it can enhance the live dealer games by providing players with more immersive and realistic world of view. But what is the social point that appears at that moment? Because as you mentioned, yeah, it could be some kind of some lose time. Is there any, especially when we have a multiplayer VR gaming experience on the desk, what happens then? Is this enabling the social interaction or make a distinction between them? What do you think? Are we step forward by using the VR at the current state, or we need more enhancement in this point so to make it much more social interactive?
I mean, it comes down to the hardware as well, but maybe to envision that a bit how that might look like in VR. So you would sit virtually on a table, and every participant, before entering the room, would create the avatar, so it's kind of personal. So I think, yes, there is much more social aspect than if you would just sit in front of a screen. So, of course, you cannot feel the person, but at least it gets towards that feeling in a better way. And because you mentioned, is it really social? Well, as of now, I think the most mass-adapted VR headset would be the MetaQuest 2, and it's fine, but the MetaQuest 3 will come out soon, and I think then we will have a major update. And you mentioned neck pain. The MetaQuest 2 is very thick and heavy, and the MetaQuest 3 will also be much more lighter, so people can sit longer with the headset at home.
Yeah.
Any update more about?
Just a bit. So, I mean, it's not only about the social experience, honestly, it's about the trust. Because we speak about 3D environment, right? And only God knows what happens behind this 3D environment, what for real the live dealer is doing, right? So if we have advanced, let's call it tracking system, whatever, which is certified and everything is proof that what's happening, what live dealer is doing in the virtual space is real, it gives the trust. Because let's say with the VR, how we imagine controllers, it's just a button, right? So you can't really move your fingers. If I pick up the card, it usually happens like this. So, I mean, it needs to be like real life experience. Exactly the same how we see it when we enter live casino online. So yeah, it's about the trust too.
That's both your directions towards to hardware requirements, content development that makes much more social environment. But pushing direct to the user adoption and regulatory compliance from the extended and the virtual and augmented reality together and intersect them into the Web3. Is that ensuring some regulatory compliance in immersive engagement expression, like is crucial or something that we have to just let as it is? What do you think of it?
Good question. Yeah, I mean, obviously we have issues with underage gambling. We have to be sure who is wearing these helmets. We have an issue with obviously, yeah, not only underage, but but also, yeah, if there are too many hours in front of these monitors, glasses, specs. So that's probably one issue for the regulator as well to think about that.
Does the regulators think about the ethical view when they're promoting the new regulatory point?
I mean, if you look into the Gambling Act, you see fight against pathological gambling, fight against underage gambling. That needs to be ensured by the operators, and that's it. What's currently in, and that needs to be ensured. And as soon as there are operators using this technology, well, you need to find a solution in order to guarantee that, in order to ensure it in front of the regulator.
Do they care from the ethical view, from the regulatory to the technical view about the ethics? Do you know about that? Do you think about the ethics when you promote such a VR XR?
I mean,
the section has not happened so far.
right. So that's a difficult question because it's so early, and at the end of the day, you need to think about the generation after us, namely Gen Z. What do they think? How do they adapt with it? They now grow up with TikTok and co. So does TikTok think about ethics? You know, so it's always a two-sided sword at the end of the day.
No, but it brings us also back to the really early roots of gambling. Online gambling. Is it sufficient that you have a pop-up window saying, "Are you over 18? And are you really you?" And how do you ensure that? So that's the same typical
the proof of identity, actually.
Back in 20 years back, yeah? So, or is it sufficient to have just a window and somebody clicks it, and that will happen in a new context, in a new area. And probably that's already with some classes, when you open them, they're asking, are you over this age? Can you certify that you're this person, etc. So that's probably one thing which is interacting legally, regulatory-wise, and technically.
I mentioned on the previous topics and panels and discussions about responsible gaming, and now during this conversation about Web3, blockchain, XR, VR, AR, we are much more on the user experience side. When we touch from the responsible gaming, are they able to work together? Or we just intersect on some point? Yes?
I mean, the answer is yes, of course, they are. Because I mean, first of all, we are not developing new casinos, right? We are developing tools for existing casinos, which are regulated, which know their clients, which already use the tools to control, to have this responsible gambling factor as well. So I believe it's more a question to the operators, but from my perspective, all what they need to do, maybe for example, our tech already fits all the criteria, or they just need to optimize them for the new experience. But in general, we are not bringing them, telling them, okay, this is like new casino which is not optimized for anything, not regulated or whatever. It's new experience, new engagement factor for the clients, and if you can't control what your players are doing there, then there is another question from you, I believe, to the operators.
I will interrupt you at that point because you mentioned a new experience.
Exactly.
In all industries, we need to create a new value after some value that already exists. If it is not created a new value, there is no continuation of life, of everything. Does that continue the process by creating a new experience, a new value, or the new generation will just simply accept it?
Well, the way the new generation thinks, I believe, is very different from how we look at the things, right? And for them, they'll be like less excited than us for sure. For them, it's going to be like just a new toy, I believe. And they definitely not going to think about the regulations or responsible gambling. For them, it's going to be like, okay, tomorrow is the release of GTA 6, 7, whatever. So this is release of the new blackjack experience. I'm 18 years old. Okay, I'll try. That's it. For them, it's simple as that. Like just pass.
That means that the adoption of new technologies, or the technologies that we already have, will be much more easier in the next years, no matter what the regulator, what the technology or intersection brings. That will be much more easier.
And I think that you mentioned a very good point. You always need new products. You always need new inventions, new ideas. I mean, looking back, that's already more than 10 years on the cryptocurrency issue. I mean, the banks are looking now at cryptocurrencies because they see that's a different layer, it's a different market, yeah? And they want to grab this portion of the market, obviously, and they looked at it from a side and said, well, we don't touch it for years, and then as soon as it's successful, then we are jumping on the train. But that's happening also with other products, yeah? And it's, in a way, it's a different layer of clients, yeah? New clients. You need to approach them, and if you're an early adopter, then you have your hurdles, obviously. But it's helping a lot, and you're learning a lot, and it's very useful to have these, to take these hurdles and go forward. Yeah.
We already touched the point of what you see as a future. Is that future something that can be shiny by intersecting this kind of technologies in the next years? No matter what the regulatory or the gambling industry will give us as a solution.
Sure, it's shining. Sure, I'm a very positive person, and I think that's going to be something. And we need to make an attractive product, and then people are jumping on it. Yeah? And I'm very positive, and I think that's the future. And as soon as we are positive, that's a very shining future as well.
I mean, like, question is very creative, and I mean, the answer is there. I mean, we are not speaking about the far future now, right? I mean, I had this kind of topics already a year ago. Now I see how the technical progress goes, and the future is already here. And the products are almost developed. And there's plenty of solutions which are already on the market, we just don't know about some of them, right? The thing is that it's everything gonna be already in our hands in the coming days. And that's the main factor. Because I mean, as I mentioned at the very beginning of the panel, there's a lot of developers who bring a lot of solutions, and there's just the main part, who's gonna be the first, for example, operator, if we speak about gambling, who will let creatives bring it on the market.
Well,
Yes.
I agree with you guys here, absolutely. And what we always need to consider, what's the next evolution of the smartphone? And in my opinion, it's definitely a kind of device which is more immersive, whether those are glasses, lenses, or even Neuralink or whatsoever, looking very far in the future now. But I think we will have other hardware, and we need to build up on this hardware early enough.
that's correct. I like it. One more, just a short point before finished. It's not on the title. What about artificial intelligence? We're still in the phase of generative AI. That means we're really still on the data science and big data analytics. It's not still a real artificial intelligence as most of the people imagine in their heads, their minds. Yes, the AI will do that. Can we intersect or to put down or top the artificial intelligence with all data science background that we had years, decades ago in the towards of next level of intersecting gaming and industry and game?
I mean,
I think that's already happening. Yeah? I mean, everybody's using AI, and I think every area of business activities, also lawyers, need to look into ChatGPT, AI, whatever buzzwords you use, but it's something, as a translator, you're working since a decade with translating software. That's something similar like AI. And as a lawyer, you need to think, hey, do you really need me as a human, or do you have a kind of a contract already in your drawer using the software? Yeah? And then maybe you need the lawyer to look over it, and that's it. So for each and any business, AI is extremely important to look at.
That means that the lawyers with the programming knowledge are in demand now.
Yeah, but it's different. Yeah, you still need a lawyer for interacting. You still need a lawyer to go to court to have a nice conversation with you here on the panel. Yeah, it's still humans needed. Yeah.
That's right. I agree. More insights?
I mean, we are using AI a lot, and this is one of the main tools and main products we provide to the operators. So, I mean, and just short example, this is the way in which we're using to bring live dealers into the virtual spaces. We track their bodies with AI, but it's not the limit. I mean, like we found a way how to avoid all the VRs and gadgets for the live dealer sensors. So now humans are in the virtual spaces playing the games, but just as an extra, what can be done and what we are doing. So nobody do, please. Imagine you have a casino in Malta or Romania.
I would like that.
Yeah, and you want to target Asia or Brazil, whatever. There is another AI which can translate your speech into another language on Go. I mean, I believe there is a short delay, but still. Do the Brazilian-looking avatars, put them in virtual space, instead of building your casino in Brazil, translate it, do the design, I mean, translate what the dealer is saying, do the design of the environment. You have a Brazilian casino today.
In simple templating.
In 20 minutes. roughly.
But
this is what we are doing too, and I mean, AI is not to replace humans, it's to help them enter new spaces, to help them bring new solutions. It's extension.
That's the point I wanted to hear. Thank you. Any question from the audience side? Okay, then I will thank you for your attention and